Greetings, Black family. Greetings, and thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced. I'm your host, Cheney. Shabaka, unfortunately, will not be joining us. He's still on sabbatical until tomorrow, so we'll probably do a special edition when he returns tomorrow. But on this season 10, episode 51 of Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced, we'll be discussing several topics. The first topic is that racist white supremacist former Vice President Dick Cheney finally kicked the damn bucket. Goodbye and good riddance. The dark side, Dick Cheney's legacy from uh, Iraq invasion to U.S. torture program. Black American freedmen are sitting it out, and the folks still can't accept it. But oh well, they better get with the program. Um, Tired. White woman says they already gave us reparations, so stop asking for it. Hell nah. You must be smoking blues. Um, will Nigeria cause nuclear war between America and China? White House renovations, while why Trump's ballroom is nothing like past renovations. Explained. Watch Trump White House address. East Wing demolition. Ballroom construction costs. White House East Wing demolition is a perfect metaphor for the Trump administration. And Supreme Court to decide if SNAP payments can resume. And Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced is based off the 50th anniversary of the founding of the original Blacc Panther Party for self-defense. We started on Blogtalk Radio back in 2016 and have been around for 10 seasons now, going on 11 seasons now. Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced covers the Black experience from the beginning of time until 10 minutes ago. It also is a part of the Frontline campaign and has recently, within the last 2 years, moved from Blog Talk Radio to Streamyard. Please make sure you like and share the broadcast, family. Please join us on Streamyard, YouTube, Frontline Black News. The links to all of our channels are in the description, including Frontline Black News 1, Frontline Black News 2, my personal page, Justin Paris, aka Chain Chroma, YouTube page, the RBA Lady Chase YouTube page, The Revolutionary Agenda, Jay Militant, Bay Area Low, with Cracking TV with Jay Militant. His link is in the description. Kukizi, who does our intro track, his link is also in the description. The Church of Black Power, brother out of Watts, California, who's now in Houston, Texas. His link is also in the description. And last but not least, our brother Black Truth United, our young brother, his link is also in the description. We signed a petition for reparations. The change.org petition link is in the description. Um, we laid to rest our brother Black Voltron Reloaded about 2 weeks ago. His GoFundMe is still in the description. What's cracking? Davion Canty Jr., black student expelled or withdrawn from Texas University for mocking the death of racist white supremacist Charlie Kirk. His GoFundMe is also in the description. Help Greg Marshall Dixon seek justice after 10 years of dedicated teaching. His GoFundMe link is also in the description. And Lady Che's GoFundMe link is in the description. Also, we got a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. And I do not own the rights to the music. And if you don't understand racism and white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else you think you understand will only confuse you. And all nine areas of human activity, which is economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And some say health and nutrition. And that's from the great Neely Fuller Jr., who transitioned this past February of 2025 at the age of 95. ProduceJustice.com. And when you, a black person, are captured by any race soldiers, you must never fuss, fight, or flee. Comply and defend yourself in court. Also by Neely Fuller Jr. producejustice.com. And last but certainly not least, we got racism, white supremacy. It's conscious and subconscious behavior to maintain white genetic survival, to prevent white genetic annihilation. And that was by the great Dr. Francis Chris Wilson, who transitioned back in January of 2016. And Tariq Nasheed paid for her funeral along with Dr. Ben, Dick Gregory, and several others. So big shout out to Tariq Nasheed for doing that. So those are the topics. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button. Shout out to Twin for hyping up the room, and shout out to Mac as well for hyping up the room. Alright, so I gotta get my cue together because I lost my cue when I restarted the computer. So give me 1 second, Black family. I'm gonna have to reload up my cue. I had a great cue lined up for y'all, and I gotta reset it up. But while I'm doing that, I'm gonna play this video. Get this damn cue together. That video. So, former Vice President Dick Cheney finally kicked the bucket at the age of 84. So he lived a full life. It's the same one that shot his friend in the face when they went hunting. The same one that helped bring us into the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. So, under the Bush Jr. administration, he was the vice president under George W. Bush, son of George H.W. Bush. So, let's see. Let's add some more videos to this queue, and we'll be good to go. Oops. No, that's what Lady Chase doing right now. Okay. Okay, I got my cue together. Let's hop right into it. Share my screen. We can get started. So this first one's from NBC News. Former Vice President Dick Cheney dies at 84.
Conservatives.
You can change that whole little format. I don't even recognize it. Okay, let me start this over.
To the end, he never wavered, defending the Iraq War and the harsh interrogation tactics that defined his vice presidency, making him a lightning rod for critics, but an icon to conservatives.
Thank you all very much. Knock it off. A welcome like that's almost enough to want to make me run for office again.
Dick Cheney always spoke his mind, justifying interrogation practices later judged to be torture.
They were legal, essential, justified, successful, and the right thing to do.
In the end, his advice was even rejected by the commander-in-chief when George W. Bush fired Cheney's closest ally, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. It was a turn of events no one would have predicted when Richard Bruce Cheney became the 46th Vice President of the United States.
So help me God.
He had already served as the youngest White House Chief of Staff under Gerald Ford, a powerful congressman from Wyoming, and Secretary of Defense under the first President Bush. Born in Nebraska, Cheney's family moved to Casper, Wyoming when he was a boy. He won a scholarship to Yale, but quit, finally graduating from the University of Wyoming and marrying his high school sweetheart, Lynn, a leading conservative author and commentator.
The man I married has a very interesting mind. Problems get redefined, and you find yourself thinking about things in new ways.
The Cheneys had 2 daughters, Mary, mother of 2, whose same-sex marriage was strongly supported by her parents well before the Supreme Court weighed in, and Liz, mother of 5 and her father's political heir, elected to Congress from Wyoming just like he was, but incurring the wrath of Donald Trump for standing up against the former president and investigating the January 6th insurrection. In 1989, as the first President Bush's Secretary of Defense, Dick Cheney became known as the cool-handed leader of the first Gulf War against Saddam Hussein.
3 o'clock Thursday morning in the Gulf, the armed forces of the United States began an operation at the direction of the president.
During the Clinton years, Cheney made millions as CEO of Halliburton, the Dallas-based oil equipment company, until George W. Bush asked him to lead the search for a running mate in 2000, and Cheney ended up taking the job himself. He quickly became the most visible take-charge vice president in memory, briefing the press, briefing Congress, briefing the president.
The main reason I'm there is to serve him. He needs people around him who care only about his success, who are prepared to give him honest advice and never sugarcoat it.
He helped shape a cabinet some said looked more like Cheney's than Bush's, in a White House that for a while appeared to be a co-presidency. Cheney was the prime mover behind the theory, later proven wrong, that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction.
We know he's been absolutely devoted to trying to acquire nuclear weapons, and we believe he has, in fact, reconstituted nuclear weapons.
Contrary to CIA reports, Cheney also linked Saddam to al-Qaeda and 9/11 and predicted Iraq would fall quickly.
Things have gotten so bad inside Iraq from the standpoint of the Iraqi people. My belief is we will, in fact, be greeted as liberators.
When the violence escalated into civil war, Cheney was blamed. There were political setbacks, an embarrassing quail hunting accident when he shot and wounded a companion.
There it is.
More seriously, the conviction of his closest aide, Scooter Libby, for lying to a grand jury about the outing of a CIA operative.
Get it right.
Throughout his public life, Cheney also battled heart disease, suffering his first heart attack in 1978 during his first run for Congress. Just days after being elected vice president, he underwent a procedure to open a clogged artery, and soon after a pacemaker. Once out of office, Cheney underwent a successful heart transplant. Still, to the end, he stuck to his deeply conservative roots, making him one of the most powerful and controversial vice presidents in recent American history. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, Washington.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
All right, so that was the first one. Now the second one is from Democracy Now!
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace.
The dark side. Welcome to the dark side. Dun, 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 dun. Dick Cheney's legacy from Iraq invasion to U.S. torture program.
Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died at the age of 84. He was a key architect of the U.S. invasion of Iraq and the so-called U.S. war on terror after 9/11. Cheney was a leading defender of the U.S. torture program and expanding the power of the presidency and vice presidency. Just days after the 9/11 attacks, Cheney appeared on Meet the Press and said the U.S. would have to work on what he called the dark side.
We also have to work, though, sort of the dark side, if you will. We're going to spend time in the shadows and in the intelligence world. A lot of what needs to be done here will have to be done quietly, without any discussion, using sources and methods that are available to our intelligence agencies if we're going to be successful.
Vice President Cheney would go on to push for the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003 under the false pretext of preventing Saddam Hussein from developing weapons of mass destruction.
In the case of Iraq, we have a regime that is busy enhancing its capabilities in the field of chemical and biological agents, and is, by all available evidence, speeding up its nuclear weapons program.
Over the years, Dick Cheney repeatedly defended the U.S. invasion, which led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands and destabilized the Middle East.
Get in Iraq
It was exactly the right thing to do. If I had it to recommend all over again, I would recommend exactly the right same course of action.
Cheney was widely accused of pushing for the U.S. invasion of Iraq to benefit his former company, Halliburton, the world's second largest oil services company. In 2007, the former Federal Reserve Chair, Alan Greenspan, said, quote, "I'm saddened that it's politically inconvenient to acknowledge what everyone knows. The Iraq War is largely about oil," unquote. Dick Cheney also played a key role in developing the U.S. torture program and global secret detention program. In an interview in 2008, ABC's Jonathan Karl questioned Cheney about the treatment of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who was held in a secret CIA prison where he was waterboarded over 100 times.
Yeah, that was straight up.
Did you authorize the tactics that were used against Khalid Sheikh Mohammed?
I was aware of the program, certainly, and involved in helping get the process cleared. That is, the agency, in effect, came in and wanted to know what they could and couldn't do. And they talked to me as well as others to explain what they wanted to do, and I supported it. There was a period of time there 3 or 4 years ago when about half of everything we knew about Al-Qaeda came from that one source. So it's been a remarkably successful effort. I think the results speak for themselves.
In hindsight, do you think any of those tactics that were used against Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and others went too far?
I don't.
And on KSM, one of those tactics, of course, widely reported was waterboarding, and that seems to be a tactic we no longer use. Even that, you think, was appropriate?
I do.
Dick Cheney first came into the spotlight in the 70s when he served as President Ford's chief of staff. He went on to serve in Congress, where he famously voted against a resolution for the release of Nelson Mandela in South Africa, then served as defense secretary for George H.W. Bush and oversaw the first Gulf War and the U.S. invasion of Panama. Later in life, Cheney became a vocal critic of Donald Trump, especially as Trump intensified his criticism of his daughter, Liz Cheney, who served as Republican Congresswoman. Dick Cheney said, quote, "In our nation's 248-year history, there's never been an individual who's a greater threat to our republic," unquote. He was talking about President Trump. We're joined now by John Nichols, executive editor of The Nation, author of many books, including The Rise and Rise of Richard B. Cheney, Unlocking the Mysteries of the Most Powerful Vice President in American History. John, we only have a few minutes here, but if you can talk about the significance of the man who was considered the most powerful vice president in U.S. history.
But there is no question. He was the most powerful vice president in American history. That is not a debatable point. He positioned himself to be George W. Bush's vice president. Bush was struggling as a relative newcomer to the national stage and not doing all that well. And he was looking for someone with a lot of experience in government to take that number 2 job. Cheney did this as a former White House staffer in the Nixon and Ford eras, as a longtime congressman, as a former Secretary of Defense, as someone who himself he had tried to be a presidential candidate, but never gotten much traction. So Cheney wanted to be at the center of power. Bush accepted him and brought him in. Because of his immense experience, Cheney asserted himself in all sorts of ways, but especially on foreign policy. And in the aftermath of 9/11, there is simply no question that Dick Cheney sought to put the United States in position to make huge moves in the Middle East, military moves, and ultimately to do an invasion and what became essentially an occupation of Iraq. That was done on the basis of claims that were unfounded and proved to be incredibly controversial, even at the time. It faced a great deal of protest. And I think this is the thing to understand. Dick Cheney, if you see him in the long arc of his career, is someone who really made the modern Republican Party what it is, a party that sought power at this intersection of economic power and political power, and sought to make moves that were often, very beneficial to the people who had that power, but very destructive, very challenging to the trajectory of the world. I understand how, at the end of his career, Dick Cheney was hypercritical of Donald Trump, that he saw in Donald Trump a leader who was acting in ways that were and moving in ways that were incredibly destructive and incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
But it is important to understand that before he came to that point, Dick Cheney was seen in much the same way. And it was because both as a public face of his party and the administration he was in, but also as a behind-the-scenes operator, he was someone who I think a great many Americans came to recognize as an individual who wanted to exercise power in ways that were clearly beneficial to his political circle, to his economic allies, but that really did put the United States in some terrible places diplomatically and politically around the world. And last thing I would say is that Dick Cheney was also someone who operated very aggressively as vice president and in other positions at the domestic level. And he was a very ardent advocate for massive tax cuts for the rich, et cetera. And so it is very hard to de-link Dick Cheney, a very fascinating, very complex man, from the evolution of the Republican Party that he ultimately came to criticize.
And John, I wanted to ask you specifically about the war in Iraq. Cheney, while he was along with Don Rumsfeld and Paul Wolfowitz of the Project for the New American Century, sought regime change for Iraq as early as 1998, years before they actually came up with this excuse for invading Iraq.
Well, remember that Dick Cheney had been Secretary of Defense under George H.W. Bush and had been an advocate for action against Iraq back in 1990, 1991. And so you can really trace with Cheney something, a focus on Iraq, some would say an obsession, that was very intense and that often put him at odds with people who said, look, the real problem is here. The real challenge is elsewhere. And one of the things about Dick Cheney was that when he became fixated on something, he didn't let go. And he was very willing to, keep pressing, even if his policies were exceptionally unpopular. And I think that ultimately the invasion of Iraq and what came after proved to be immensely unpopular. The American people recognized that this was something that was developed and organized in the White House, but not based on anywhere near the level of consultation or the level of international engagement and reflection that was needed. And so Cheney had a reputation as, this major player, particularly on the global stage. And yet, often, if you look back on it, there were moves that he made, steps that he organized, steps that he pushed for that proved to be disastrous and that proved to be wrong. And so, again, I think Cheney's an incredibly complex man. And I think he is fascinating. I think he definitely committed himself to a life of public service. There is no question that. And yet, in that public service, even going back to the 1970s,
he committed himself to being a tyrant.
Or willingness to err on the side of secrecy, on the side of power politics, to not consult Congress, to actually insult Congress, and to concentrate power in the presidency, in the White House, to do the things that he and his allies wanted to do. And then, yes, as we note, he then became a very stark critic of Donald Trump for using that concentrated power, ultimately to force his own daughter, Cheney's own daughter, from a position of leadership in the House of Representatives. And I do think that again, if we look at where the Republican Party is today and how it sees the presidency as almost an unlimited base of power, and a base of power to make not just political moves, but economic moves, I think you have to recognize Cheney as someone who created that and who played an absolutely central role in telling Republicans that if you get power, you should do what you want to do.
John Nichols, I want to thank you for being with us, executive editor of The Nation, author of many books, including The Rise and Rise of Richard B. Cheney. unlocking the mysteries of the most powerful vice president in American history. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
Yeah, so Dick Cheney was a fucking tyrant, y'all.
He was a tyrant. He was a tyrant when I was a child. In the 80s. That motherfucker bucked that dude in the face.
Yeah.
That was all over the news.
Yeah. They said it was an accident.
Yeah, there's no accident like that. And I was little. I was like, it's an accident to shoot somebody in the face? Since when?
Yeah, we were teenagers when that happened, yeah.
I was like, since when? Brother shoots something across the room with his little toy and shit. He hit me in the face. It's no accident.
Right, he did that on purpose.
He did that shit on purpose. You know he did it. He can't even lie about it.
Yeah, so rest in peace to Dick Cheney.
Oh, Dick Cheney. And his daughter, Turncoat.
Oh, Liz Cheney. Yeah.
So Cheney went supported Kamala, right?
Yep. Yep, she endorsed Kamala.
Turncoat.
Yeah. She said, we can't have Trump in. Yep, I remember the South Park episode.
Shit, Turncoat.
Twin said, do you remember the South Park episode of Dick Cheney shooting his friend in the face?
My God.
Of course.
I love
Twin.
South Park.
South Park was taped here in Colorado.
It still take care of Colorado.
Right.
And they bought the Casa Bonitas.
Yeah.
I still have yet to go in that bitch.
Oh, yeah.
I've never
You never been to Casa Bonita?
Never.
Wow. I went when I was a kid. I haven't been since since South Park bought the place up.
Them fools are funny.
That food was nasty as fuck.
That's the main reason I never went in there. Because word on the street was that food was nasty as fuck.
Yeah. I think I got sick eating there. He said the best adult cartoon ever.
Yeah, that's 27 seasons in already.
Yeah.
I've watched all of them. And all their movies.
Yeah. I remember the movies. I seen them when they first came out.
I like Butters.
Yeah, Butters.
And Cartman.
Cartman's so stupid. He said Chef was his favorite character. Yeah, my salty balls. Would you
gotta
like
play
to
that
taste
song
my
every
salty
holiday
balls?
Chocolate salty
My
balls.
chocolate salty balls.
Just lick them.
Just lick them.
Every holiday season.
Yeah, that was Isaac Hayes. Didn't Isaac Hayes do the voice for him?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So. Yeah, Cartman was fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. I got some ice cream too. All right, so next topic is Black American freedmen are sitting it out. The election, that is. And them folks can't accept it. Where they at? Where the black people at?
I sat it out for this election.
She so she didn't even fill out her ballot, y'all. There ain't nothing worth filling out on here. So,
you know how I get down. Once I say I'm not going to do something,
yeah,
I don't do it.
I think it's Demetria K that's going to give us an update on this.
I could contribute to the madness.
YouTube keep changing their format. So
They did what they wanted you to do.
Now, here's the position I'm in.
Great.
Here's 10,000 whites coming to kill me. And in those 10,000, or let's say here's 10,000 rattlesnakes coming to bite me. And in those 10,000, there was 1,000 that didn't mean no harm. And I knew there was a good 1,000 snakes out there, but they all look alike. Now, what should I do? Should I keep the door open and let the 10,000 in, hoping that the 1,000 will unite and save me and one bite will kill me? Or should I just be safe and shut the door? So we have white people say, I mean right. I have a black husband. Oh, my children are black. I love everybody. I really believe you. But I'm sorry, man, there's 10 more thousand behind you that don't feel that way. I'm just sorry, but what am I going to do?
That was the beautiful King Muhammad Ali, who always spoke truth to power, especially when it came to us and them folks and us watching our backs around them folks. Now, speaking of watching our backs, I was strolling through TikTok and came across Bill Maher questioning the number of black people at the recent, No Kings rally that took place a few weeks ago across the nation. Now, many of our folks see Bill as trustworthy or not racist, and that's because Bill is supposedly an independent thinker, and he's said to date predominantly black women. But let's be clear, he is not a stranger to controversy and has been called out by our own community for his antics, and that also includes using the N-word on his show to describe himself. For those who don't know, there were multiple rallies that took place all over the U.S. about 2 weeks ago. Now, them folks called the protests across the country No King rallies, as they stated that the so-called kings in power now live good while everybody else struggles. Now, reports state that at least 7 million people marched across America in protest, with organizers calling it the largest single-day protest against a sitting president in modern history. And the marches were about pushing back against ICE raids, defending democracy, fighting troop deployments, and resisting immigration cuts. The broader message was about corruption and inequality, the rising cost of living, and protesters state they were demanding change, better pay, justice, and accountability from the current leaders. Now, on paper, that sounds powerful. Millions of people standing up, taking to the streets trying to shake the system.
Wait.
Now, it would have actually been powerful if FBA got involved. But we resting. And that brings us to Bill Maher.
Here's a question that I saw, did not realize until it hit the news a lot, was that it was very white.
Yep.
What do you make of that? That the guy in Baltimore, the paper there said, we struggled to, our photographer, to find a picture of black people in this march. That I didn't go, and I feel like, well, we had a meeting.
Now, I got a feeling Bill may know why FBA wasn't out there if he made it a point to mention that we were not there. He noticed it just like many of the others. You didn't see FBA out there because many FBA are resting. And we're letting you hold your own. Yep. Outside of these bland dances and parade vibes, those issues, ICE raids, defending democracy, immigration cuts, have nothing to do with Freedmen. And we have been mentioning equality and unfair treatment for centuries. We cannot relate to that agenda. And not only that, we're tired of being the mule for everybody else while they come up and we don't. Any of us have watched the people that we vote for most of the time bring in undocumented folks and provide food, housing, shelter, clothing, and job training, and more. While black people who they expect to vote for them have some of the highest levels of poverty, health disparities, joblessness, and more. We done watched the Asians and other groups get a hate crime bill or placed in a protective class when we have been experiencing hate crimes forever. FBA wasn't out there in large numbers because of this. Even in the cities like Atlanta, where our presence is strong, we still not here for no more symbolism. And the Boule crowd talking down to us won't change that. First of all, you can't even talk down to people who you need. You need us to vote for you. So until you grasp concepts like that, and that many FBA made it clear that we're focused on cash reparations, cash, a hate crime bill, and other targeted policies that correct the harms that our lineage have faced, we not trying to hear it. Now, you may get a few of us sprinkled in, but many of us are sitting it out, and there's not enough insults or you labeling us as MAGA that's going to change that. Don't come over here with symbolism, and you're going to show us the same respect that you give all these other groups. No more of FBA doing the heavy lifting, becoming the face and the backbone of your movements and the things that you want, yet the benefits always go to you or someone else. That happened during the civil rights movement, women's rights movement, and so forth. Even these illegals and many of these other immigrants, not all, come here because of us. They got the nerve to tell us about ourselves or how lazy we are. So that's fine. We'll be lazy. We so lazy that we not coming out there in them streets to put the cape on for you and protest for the things that you want. We not looking over our shoulder for the ICE van.
Right.
We not looking over our shoulder because we voted a person in who has harmed us.
White women saw their men in trouble. And like all female animals, anytime the male gets in trouble, the female attacks. That is a law of nature. A law of nature. If you don't believe it, we can prove it in a zoo anytime you want to. Now, what happened, white women came out and captured our women and convinced us that white women were not as racist as white men. And convinced us, or convinced our women, that they would place them above their husbands, their brothers, their lovers, their children, their sons, and we say, then the white gays came out and convinced our gays it was a gay struggle. And stole our gays, you know. Okay? White students came out and grabbed our black students, said it was a student struggle, and wiped out our black students. And all of a sudden, we have to wonder, where's the fight? You know.
Tell them, King Bobby Wright.
Yeah, King Bobby Wright.
Now y'all can keep burning up your Saturday, having a parade, whining about a man many of you voted in office who is now hitting you with the same policies that have been affecting us for centuries. You didn't show up for us and denied us things that we are entitled to, and you expect us to get out there and put the cape on for you? No. No. We're not doing that. And also, your protests are rooted in privilege. It's nothing but privilege. Ours were born out of survival.
What are you out here protesting today?
It's not funny.
No, I'm serious. What are you guys out here protesting today?
Seriously, it's not funny. None of it's funny. It's not funny. Everything that's going on right now is not amusing. It's our government. We're the people. It's our Constitution. We're here to fight for our democracy.
I respect that. I'm just trying to get educated. I didn't know you guys were out here protesting today.
Well, do you read any signs here?
I mean, I do.
What's not to understand?
I don't know what that
People
means.
should not be afraid of their government. The government should not be afraid of the people. They're eating the check. They're eating the balances. We have three prongs of government: the Congress, the Justice, and the Executive Branch. 3 branches. 3 branches on the tree. 3 branches on the tree.
3 branches. What's your dog's name?
Rocco.
Rocco. Hey, Rocco.
It's not a party. It's not funny.
I didn't think it was funny, but you're wearing a clown outfit, so I thought it was kind of funny. I thought I was supposed to laugh. You were wearing a clown outfit.
It's not funny.
Lynching, segregation, stolen wealth. We wanted to be treated like the citizens we are. That's why when we march, it carries a lot of weight. I mean, Trump's still in office, and he trolling y'all. The government is still shut down. So I'm confused as to what you accomplished. Live with the consequences of your vote. See, it was okay when you thought it was going to affect us. Nobody had nothing to say. Now look at you. My mama used to say, Be careful how you treat people because you may be subject to need them.
Yep.
Or be careful about digging a grave or a hole for someone else. You just might fall into it. The police weren't even out there harassing you during your parade. Not nearly. And I mean not nearly as what they would have done had it been us. Nobody called you all agitators. Nobody labeled you all as troublemakers. But when we protest about something that is affecting our community or an injustice, suddenly we're the criminals. We're the ones disturbing the peace. We're the rioters and the looters. Why not enjoy your peaceful protests with your 7 million people?
So what brings you out today?
No King's Day.
And why specifically are you out supporting No King's Day?
I think protest is important.
Why are you protesting?
How much time do you have?
A couple minutes. And what's the main reason you're out here protesting President Trump?
I agree with a lot of the decisions that are being made.
Is there any decision in particular you disagree with?
Okay, so I would start with, well...
Lord have mercy. On that note, one more thing, y'all. They noted photographers had to struggle to find Black people at the parade. Yes, I said parade. Now, hold up. If you got 7 million people out there across the country and you're so proud of your parade and you're protesting the injustices, why are you looking for FBA? Because we're definitely not looking for you. I mean, tell me in the comments, guys, anybody ever thought about that? Like, why are they so pressed about our absence? Aren't we the ones that are usually the looters, troublemakers, disturbing the peace? All those words they love to throw around when it comes to us? Why would you want that type of people at your peaceful protests? When it was us, nobody cared. And you're going to deal with it the same way we've dealt with not having anything we were supposed to have and not always getting our way as well for centuries. Trump has not even been in office for a year. And many of these other groups are losing it. I mean, coming apart. Family, tell me if you've noticed. So when Bill asked, where are the Black folks? He already knew the answer, just like the rest of them. Many of us are moving smarter now, like our ancestors did. We're watching and thinking because history taught us what happens when we ignore the signs or when we put the cape on for everybody else before we do anything for ourselves. Many of us are not going out there just to be blamed if something goes wrong or locked up while you've been out here protesting for months and many of y'all are still alive and in these streets and not many of you all have been arrested.
Exactly.
We're not fighting in these streets for causes that don't benefit us no more or allowing you to easily use our pain to boost your own agendas. Now, until there's real talk about reparations, not a study, not another educational plan, but targeted reparations for Black Americans, many of us are not going in them streets. And I'm also not voting for anybody who don't have my best interest at heart. If you want our vote, you want our alliance that you've been denying for centuries, give us a reason to get off the couch.
That's right, sister.
To use our gas and our energy to stand behind you. Like Dr. Claude Anderson said, it's all about quid pro quo, baby. Now go ahead and make all the fake narratives and AI photos and videos you want. I mean, isn't that what y'all doing with the food stamp cuts? Using our faces when in reality, it's you who get the most government
Okay, I'm back. Damn, internet acting stupid. Let me try this again. I hear the tail end of what the sister has to say.
Real talk about reparations, not a study, not another educational plan, but targeted reparations for Black Americans. Many of us are not going in them streets. And I'm also not voting for anybody who don't have my best interest at heart. If you want our vote, you want our alliance that you've been denying for centuries, give us a reason to get off the couch.
Right.
To use our gas and our energy to stand behind you. Like Dr. Claude Anderson said, it's all about quid pro quo, baby.
That's right.
Now go ahead and make all the fake narratives and AI photos and videos you want. I mean, isn't that what y'all doing with the food stamp cuts? Using our faces when in reality, it's you who get the most government assistance.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually developed for people like you.
Yep.
Now, Freedmen family, chime in below. What do you think? Would you have gone to the protest?
Yeah, to the no.
Or did you go?
Yeah.
Or do you think Bill was gaslighting like they always do?
Yeah, what's gaslighting?
You know, they love to play dumb and act confused.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know in the comments, guys. How do you feel about this? And remember, it's not what we say, it's just how we say it. We're all different and entitled to our opinions. Now, one more thing before I go. If them folks really want to learn how to protest, not for privilege, but to actually make a difference, or to have a protest that's effective, that won't get them clowned or trolled or have us looking sideways, they can always study Operation Breadbasket.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, Freedmen did that. Most people know Dr. King for his speeches and his marches, but few know about one of the most powerful economic strategies known as Operation Breadbasket. Now, this wasn't just about civil rights and words. This was about money and morals. Now, Operation Breadbasket was created in the early 1960s under Dr. King's Southern Christian Leadership Conference in Atlanta, and it was later led by Jesse Jackson. Now, it was built on one simple idea. If a business profits from the Black community, then that business should hire Black workers, promote Black talent, and buy from Black-owned companies. Pretty much, we should be benefiting.
That's right.
This is the Dr. King they don't talk about much.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, Black Americans, or FBA, were spending billions of dollars every year in white-owned establishments, yet those same businesses refused to hire us, mistreated us, and didn't even want us in their stores like that. I mean, that completely shut us out. That's not just disrespectful, that's theft.
Yep.
And we were allowing it, and Dr. King saw this. So Operation Breadbasket flipped the script. It organized boycotts. The message was clear. If you don't respect our presence, you won't get our dollars.
Right.
If you want our money, you must invest back into our people. That pressure that Black folks put on them actually worked. When the community pulled its money together and stood firm, those same white-owned businesses folded real fast. Jobs opened, contracts were awarded, promotions happened, millions of dollars went back into Black hands, not just out of charity, but out of justice. Let's be real. Those white-owned companies didn't suddenly start loving Black people.
Right.
They just had no choice but to publicly respect the power of the Black dollar. And that's what mattered.
That's right.
We didn't beg to be liked. We demanded to be treated fairly as citizens who helped build the country.
Right.
Now, at its height, Operation Breadbasket brought unity and pride to cities all across the U.S. like Chicago, Atlanta, Cleveland, and it proved that when we move together, we can shake the system, much like now. Fast forward today, and our spending power is in the trillions.
Yep.
Trillions.
Yeah.
And that same leverage from back then can still be handled now. No more broken promises. You don't have to like us, but that green matters. Even a single day or a week of economic withdrawal could remind this nation just how powerful FBA are when we move with purpose. Now, Operation Breadbasket was not just a protest, it was a lesson to them folks, one they could use again now.
Yep, I agree, sister. Thank you for that. Yep, so we're sitting it out. So y'all better get used to it until y'all come with some tangibles. You will not see us at any of these protests, and you will not see us at the voting booth. All right, so moving along, we got Will. Oh, yeah, I guess I can go down over this one. White woman has the audacity to say that they already gave us reparations, so stop asking for it. So, Nimshi K, my sister, gonna give us an update on that.
Retired white woman by the name of Emily, something to say about us wanting reparations. Check it out.
You want to talk about reparations? We pay reparations. What do you mean, reparations? Our taxpayer dollars, which are mostly white people paying that, goes to, what is it? Affordable housing, government programs, EBT, scholarships, DEI, you guys getting jobs. Holy shit. Let's take all that, factor in the theft, factor in the crime, factor it in the murders, and then we'll talk about reparations on this show. How about that? You probably won't like that, will you? Because you're not going to like the numbers. But we are all, frankly, exhausted.
So as you saw in her saying, listen, she said she was tired. I didn't say it, so I'm just going along with what she said because she said they were exhausted. Okay. Well, there's a couple things there. I guess she's tired of us asking them, white people, for reparations, from their white tax dollars, because they pay most of it, is what she's saying. She's saying that we get affordable housing, EBT, and DEI, amongst a whole host of other things. Well, let's start with the affordable housing. Affordable housing was made for her people originally. We couldn't get it. In fact, our people in the 1930s were barred from even thinking about affordable housing. Now, that affordable housing was done to give them a leg up so they could pull themselves up by the bootstraps, and they were able to do that right out of the Great Depression, but that didn't include us. Now, as far as this EBT, even to this day, they're the biggest recipients of that. But back then, we didn't get food stamps like that because you had to buy them, and they had the resources to do that. So in a sense, we were discriminated against from even getting the EBT. Now DEI, now her being a tired white woman, again, those are her definitions of herself, she should know that she's the biggest benefactor of DEI. Right. The white woman is. In fact, Black Americans come like number 8 on the list. So, this is why I say that a lot of people should not be in front of a microphone, because there you are espousing a bunch of nonsense. But I know why you're doing it, because your audience more than likely looks like you, and y'all got to sell victimhood to each other and demonize everybody else. But you talking about that's our reparations? No, it's not our reparations. You know what reparations is for. But of course, that crowd too wants us to get over slavery. Oh, it was so long ago. You're not a slave. I didn't own a slave. Well, yeah, that is true today. But our people were slaves, and everything that they had, including labor, was stolen from them. Right? Never earned a dime from the stolen labor. So yeah, we want that. We want it for Jim Crow and crack and a whole host of other things that has been done to the Black American community. So it's not if, Miss Tired White Lady, it's when we're gonna get it. Now let's go back to this crime thing that y'all like to talk about. Yeah, there's some that they say Black people do more of, but y'all do most of the crime. Right. The unfortunate part about what you're saying is Black people unfortunately get arrested or criminalized or sentenced disproportionately unfairly for things that we did not do. So y'all don't ever want to talk about that. You can go to Google or anywhere in the news and hear about a Black man being freed after umpteen years for something that he did not do, due to the injustice system here in the United States of America. Now, you can also go to Google or the news and hear about your people who are so tired doing some of the most heinous things and getting a tap on the wrist for. So make sure, Miss Tired White Lady, when you talking on your microphone, make sure you tell the truth and not, from emotions, because you're trying to keep your people feeling like they're the victims. They're not the victims. Right. Everybody else is the victims. Right. So anyway, y'all let me know what you think of that. And for more insightful commentary, please subscribe to this channel and my channel, The Demetra K Show, here on YouTube.
Peace. Yeah, the audacity. We already paid you reparations in the form of government assistance. Bitch, please. That government assistance benefits y'all, still benefits y'all to this day. Fuck is you talking about? Cut the goddamn check. And it's 100 trillion, starting at 100 trillion. And now it's up to a gazillion. Cut the goddamn check. We're not playing with y'all. The fuck is you talking about? Oh my gosh, an insult to all of our intelligence. Alright, so the next one is, will Nigeria cause nuclear war between America and China? And this is from our boy. We know him personally. Theo Wilson, who's now with the African Diaspora News Channel. He's going to give us an update on that.
African family, this is your main man Theo E.J. Wilson with African Diaspora News. And the late great Malcolm X always said that America's chickens was going to eventually come home to roost. I don't know if Brother Malcolm knew that one of those chickens was going to come from China, just a big old Chinese chicken coming home to roost. What I don't like is it looks like in the karmic comeuppance of America, black folks could be caught in the middle at home and abroad. But before we talk about the black world, let's hear what China has to say about its capacity to harm America if America should harm China first.
This is very clear. China will not fire the first shot, but China will not allow you to fire the second shot. China will never allow the United States to launch a war against China, conventional or nuclear, without suffering devastating consequences. If you have not watched the Victory Day parade in Beijing on September the 3rd, one of the weapons China demonstrated, we call it 61, because it can contain 60 nuclear warheads plus one hydrogen bomb. Now, in the world of today, let me tell you, which country has hydrogen bomb? China is the only country with hydrogen bomb. And that ICBM can cover every corner of the world in less than 20 minutes. And destroy any target in any corner of the world.
Well, now, I think that we can ascertain in no uncertain terms that they seem to be about their business. So keep what this guy said in mind about the capacity for their nuclear weapons to reach anywhere in the world in 20 minutes. When we think about what's happening in Nigeria, when it comes to now Donald Trump suddenly being concerned about Christians being harmed in Nigeria, because I'm just going to put it out there. That's tragic. When we look at what Boko Haram is doing in Nigeria, slaughtering these folks, it is all bad. And African suffering should be front and center on the world stage. I just don't believe Trump when he says he cares about black folks and suffering. That's just me. I don't know. Maybe you do. Because we see a pattern here with the American government in that they conveniently intervene in a world of trauma and war and tragedy only when it conveniences them and their major objective, which is the continuance of the hegemony and world domination. Well, it just so happens that also in Nigeria, aside from these attacks from Boko Haram killing Christians out there, was major trade deals going on with China. And if China and the BRICS alliance weren't posing such a threat to American dominance, I don't think we'd be even hearing about this. And the reason why I think that is because Boko Haram been at it since 2009, at least in Nigeria, right? They kicked up dust majorly in 2012. Y'all remember Comey 2012 when that whole thing happened, right? Which happened to follow the fall of Muammar Gaddafi, when NATO-backed insurgents decapitated the Libyan government and violently overthrew Gaddafi, and those guys didn't vanish. They ended up somehow seeping into Boko Haram in Nigeria and magically arming them folks. Well, not only that, but you have a situation here where we clearly see that this coincides conveniently with China expanding a major trade deal with Nigeria to expand its Belt and Road Initiative. Check out this article published by Ecofin from July of this year talking about the 20 billion investments pledged by Chinese firms for agriculture, mining, automotive, steel, and energy sectors. Projects aim to support food security, job creation, and Nigeria's industrial transformation. Partnership also targets increased Nigerian exports to China in high-value supply chain development. In other words, this is part of a larger pattern that we've seen with China moving away from a neo-colonial model to secure, with the BRICS alliance, more equitable and favorable deals with the African continent. And of course, Nigeria was going to get a part of that action. They got one of the largest economies in Africa. So China trying to put a ring on it in Nigeria, and they are investing seriously. Here's what else the article says. The Nigeria-China Strategic Partnership was established within the framework of the Forum on China-African Cooperation, FOCAC, to deepen bilateral collaboration. As a part of this broader effort, the partnership is also working to expand Nigerian access to Chinese markets, diversify Nigeria's export base, and build integrated, high-value added supply chains. So they really about to be on the come up when it comes to making business deals with Nigeria. They go on to say, China is also one of Nigeria's largest trading partners, with bilateral trade reaching $12.6 billion in 2023, according to International Trade Center data. Nigeria's exports to China are currently dominated by crude oil and agricultural commodities, while imports are primarily manufactured goods. See, for those of you who are unfamiliar with China's Belt and Road Initiative, this is basically China adopting what America's foreign policy used to be during John F. Kennedy's administration, which is to build leverage via development, not destruction. So China's building the Belt and Road Initiative partially because of the fact that their Pacific Ocean trade is kind of blocked off because they're encircled in maritime trade via the United States Navy. So what they're doing is they're going the other way and say, fine, y'all can have the ocean, we're going to have the land. So the Belt and Road Initiative is literally them building all sorts of development in Africa to ease import-export situations, right? Not only that, but they're doing it in the Middle East. They're also doing it in parts of Europe. So China is like, listen, man, let's get this money through stability, not instability via war and destruction. And if this weren't such a key time in the United States' economy starting to look like it's in bad shape, I don't think we'd even be paying attention to anything happening specifically in Nigeria. And here's why. Because Boko Haram, as bad as they are, and they've been bad, we have some reason to believe that they've been backed by Western forces, but whatever, they've been bad for a long time. But it's not just Christians that they're targeting, and that's what I want people to understand. In fact, the Nigerians are saying so themselves. So CNN interviewed a Nigerian brother named Bulama Bukarti, who said, look, it's bad, but this is a dangerous oversimplification of what's going on to fit a narrative that is not accurate to what's actually happening on the ground. Here's what the brother told CNN. He said, yes, these extremist groups have sadly killed many Christians. However, they have also massacred tens of thousands of Muslims, Bukarti said. He noted that the groups attack on other civilian locations such as markets, bus stops, and refugee camps disproportionately harm Muslims, as the states where the radical groups operate are predominantly Muslim. So yes, it's bad. I want to emphasize this. I ain't going to be like whataboutism or nothing. Look, this human rights crisis, we got them all over the place. If you've been following Sudan, if you've been following the Congo, if you've been following Haiti, for crying out loud, if you've been following what's happening with us Black Americans, it's bad everywhere, all the time, okay? So the fact that the United States and our military apparatus would take issue with what's happening in Nigeria under the pretext of saving Christian lives does not square with the actual facts on the ground. And I can say this without equivocation. You see a similar proxy war happening with Venezuela, where you have all this investment that generally goes to their oil heading to Russia and China because of the fact that they've created those deals and they are proximal to the BRICS alliance. So literally, we in a Cold War situation. We in a new Cold War, right? And the fact is, BRICS is getting the upper hand. And they're not just getting the upper hand because like they're making better deals. It's because we fumble after fumble. When you talk about how these tariffs have hurt American farmers, have hurt American businesses, right? How it's an unstable investment environment. Yeah, if you look at the dollar has lost a significant amount of its value just since Trump has taken office. This is opening the door to BRICS. Is BRICS as competitive as America? Not yet. Could it get there? Of course. And this leads me back to our original issue and our point we're making about China and the forces willing to use to back up what they say. Because let's say Nigeria turns to China's Ukraine, right? It's a proxy war fought with the West, and they're supplying weapons to protect their investment. As we are, they put a lot of billions of dollars into Nigeria's infrastructure. And then it escalates to the fact they got to put boots on the ground. And then a Chinese soldier gets killed, right, by an American-made bullet or weapon. And China said that it's going to allow America to fire the first shot, but it ain't going to get the second shot off this one. You see where I'm going with this. It's very important that we understand that us as Black Americans, being Americans, are not going to be able to sit this out on the sidelines for too damn long. It's just what it is. And in fact, if you don't go to a war that is created by this global tension, maybe your cousin them go, maybe somebody that you know get drafted, or maybe it reaches our shores, who knows, right? But it's very important that we keep on paying attention to these events, because as in ancient history, it is today. Africa and Black folks are not insignificant. In fact, we could be the touch point and the center of how history goes. So keep your wits about you and stay aware of global happenings, because we are all connected in this and it's going to affect us eventually. But those are just my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comment section. And yes, I do be reading them. I just don't respond to everything. So my name is Theo E.J. Wilson with African Diaspora News. We do our best to bring you global news as it affects and impacts Black folks and the African diaspora. So go ahead and like, follow, and share. Go ahead and download our app. I say this every time. I'll say it again. Download our app.
All right, Theo. Thanks for that update. I strongly disagree. This ain't got shit to do with us. So they can hold their own. Nigeria caught us in Javiers, so they can hold their own. As Black Alpha Network covered last week, they gonna carve up Nigeria like a pie. The new scramble for Africa is occurring right now as we speak, and they're not doing nothing to stop it. So why should FBA have to come to their rescue again? It's beyond me. And so we're not coming to their rescue. They can hold their own. They need to fight in their own homeland and secure their own homeland. All right, so the next topic is computer's phone. Where did everybody go? Where'd you go, twin? Where'd you go, Matt? So the next topic is White House renovations. Why Trump's ballroom is nothing like past renovations.
The world watched in disbelief this week as bulldozers tore through the east wing of the White House. The demolition, which appeared sudden and massive, is part of US President Donald Trump's plan to build a new multi-million-dollar ballroom on the eastern side of the presidential mansion. For a house that has stood for over 230 years, this is no ordinary facelift. It's a transformation that's sparking debate, outrage, and fascination across America. Images of excavators clearing rubble from one of the most famous addresses in the world went viral. The White House East Wing, gone. According to officials, the project will replace it with a sprawling 90,000 square foot ballroom costing around $300 million. Supporters call it bold. Critics call it reckless. Historians simply call it unprecedented.
So the building is gone, right? We know this now. So does that mean the First Lady is going to stop being significant in American society? I do not think so. I think most likely, no matter what happens, there will be another East Wing. It's really important that the First Lady has important work to do. So that is certainly my hope, and it may take a while. It may look different, but I don't think, even at the time when it's gone, that the building is erased from us, that the legacy of the First Lady will ever disappear.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt tried to put things into perspective during a tense briefing, reminding reporters that presidents have reshaped the White House before. She said, "The briefing room we're in now was once a swimming pool. Presidents have completely rebuilt and reimagined the House before. But that raises a haunting question. Has any president ever gone this far? To understand that, we have to go back, all the way to where it all began." Construction of the White House started in 1792. When George Washington chose Irish-born architect James Hoban to design the new Executive Mansion. Built by a mix of enslaved and free African Americans alongside European immigrants, the process took 8 years. John Adams was the first president to move in, even before it was finished. Followed by Thomas Jefferson, who brought his personal touch to the interiors. In 1814, however, British troops set it ablaze, leaving nothing but the shell. Hoban was called back to build it, and soon new features like the south and north porticos came to define its iconic facade. More major changes came a century later under President Theodore Roosevelt in 1902. He transformed the mansion into the modern executive residence we see today, relocating his office to the brand new West Wing and transforming the family quarters. It was Roosevelt who created the East Terrace, which decades later would evolve into the East Wing, the very structure that stood until Trump's bulldozers arrived. Not a single president had ever torn down an entire wing until now. That's what makes Trump's move historic and divisive. The demolition of the East Wing marks the first major external change to the White House in 83 years. The new ballroom, reportedly large enough to host 1,000 guests for state dinners and events, mirrors those at Trump's private Mar-a-Lago estate. But what's fueling controversy is not just its size, it's the secrecy. Funding sources have not been presented to Congress. Instead, private corporations, including Amazon, Apple, and Comcast, are said to be contributing millions to the project. Critics warn this could raise fresh ethical and transparency concerns around public property and private influence. The Society of Architectural Historians called the project a dramatic alteration to one of the world's most important cultural landmarks. Meanwhile, the American Institute of Architects has urged a preservation-first review process, warning that the change may forever alter the White House's historic character. Yet, Press Secretary Leavitt argues the president's vision is one of legacy. She insists the East Wing will be more beautiful and modern than ever, featuring a grand ballroom for generations to come.
With any construction project, there are changes over time as you assess what the project is going to look like, and we'll continue to keep you apprised of all of those changes, but just trust the process. This is going to be a magnificent addition to the White House for many years to come, and it's not costing the taxpayers anything. The president is privately funding this ballroom addition to the White House grounds.
For Donald Trump, it's about grandeur, leaving behind a tangible monument to his presidency. For historians, it's about loss of architectural lineage, symbolism, and restraint. And for millions watching around the world, It's a spectacle, one that blends politics, power, and preservation in the heart of American democracy. As the dust settles over Washington, one truth remains. The White House has seen war, fire, and reinvention, but never a transformation quite like this.
Welcome to Money Control, your ultimate destination in the ever-evolving world of finance, business, markets, policy, and technology.
People were surprised the entire East Wing is being demolished because you had said initially that the ballroom would just touch or would not.
Well,
touch
certain
it.
areas
What
are being
happened?
certain areas are being left. We determined that after really a tremendous amount of study with some of the best architects in the world, we determined that really knocking it down, trying to use a little section. You know, the East Wing was not much. There was not much left from the original. It was over the course of 100 years, it was changed, the columns were removed, and it was a much different building. Then a story was added on in 1948, 1949. There was a story added on, which was not particularly nice. And the building was very, very much changed from what it was originally. It was never thought of as being much. It was a very small building. And rather than allowing that to hurt a very expensive, beautiful building that frankly, they've been after for years. You have that. I brought these along so people could see, but very great patriots, actually. And the spirit of the building, we are using little sections of footings and various other things, but that's sort of irrelevant. We're also working with the military on, because we want to make sure everything's perfect, and the military is very much involved in this. They want to make sure everything is absolutely beautiful. You can see the kind of interiors that we're talking about. That's an interior of the ballroom. And it's the highest level, and you see it goes beautifully with the White House. I mean, the mix is beautiful. So over the years, many presidents have made changes. This obviously would be the biggest change, but this was something they've wanted for at least 150 years. In order to do it properly, we had to take down the existing structure. The way it was shown, it looked like we were touching the White House. We don't touch the White House. That's a bridge, a glass bridge, going from the White House to the ballroom. Then you get into the lobby of the ballroom, and then you go into the magnificent, the main room. And it's something that has gotten incredible reviews. And this is a proper kind of a thing. Now, what the White House was doing, as you know, is they were putting tents out on the lawn. This is an interior shot of the ballroom. I think there'll be nothing like it. And it's being paid for 100% by me and some friends of mine, donors. As an example, President Xi, or they had a leader of one of the countries, including the king and the queen from your favorite country, absolutely, frankly, but where they'd be honored, and they'd be in a tent out on the lawn, and it would rain, and it was a disaster. Brian's shaking his head. You know what I'm talking about.
We continue to have eyes and ears in that room, that White House press briefing room. As we mentioned, we anticipated that Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt would be asked about the demolition wrecking ball happening at the East Wing of the White House. A reporter asked her about that. Here's what she had to say.
On that, one thing that's not in the president's model is the East Wing bunker, the president's emergency operations center. Can you say if his update, that $300 million, does that include the cost for upgrading that bunker? Look, like any security enhancements that are made on the White House grounds, those will be made and maintained by United States Secret Service. As for the cost of the ballroom and the construction itself, all of that is going to be, like I've said, privately funded and paid for by the president himself and many generous patriots who have stepped up. In that funding. Correct. Okay, and then can you say, well, that's right, I'll skip that one. Thanks, Ouija.
Okay. So the White House has explained that the reason you didn't submit construction plans to the NCPC is because that commission, along with others, don't have oversight over demolitions, but only over construction. And so far, you haven't built anything. So can you help us understand, can the president tear down anything he wants without oversight? Can he demolish this building or, say, the Jefferson Memorial?
So it's not the president who came up with that legal opinion himself. That's a legal opinion that's been held by the NCPC for many years. It's written, so we can get you that background and that research if you wish to include it in your reporting, because it is very important. They have ruled consistently, their general counsel has said, when it comes to phase 1 of this project, the tearing down of the current East Wing structure, a submission is not required legally for that. Only for vertical construction will a submission be required, and that's a legal opinion from them, and we are following that legal opinion. And again, I would just add, can any president do such a thing to the White House grounds? There have been many presidents in the past who have made their mark on this beautiful White House complex. This briefing room, as you all know, was not once a briefing room. It was a swimming pool. There have been presidents who have completely torn down the executive mansion. If you look at what President Truman did, some of the photos of the construction project that took place in those years. I think sitting here today, we're all grateful for those efforts and the modifications that happened at that time. And again, in due time, the East Wing is going to be more beautiful and modern than ever before. In addition, there will be a big, beautiful ballroom that can hold big parties and state visits for generations to come.
So it sounds like the answer is yes, he can tear down whatever he wants. And then secondly, I mean,
that's not what we're saying. That's a legal opinion that's been held for many years. And
interpreting it.
no, it's something that presidents have done for years and years. In fact, I have some photos here. Thank you, Pat, to show you the construction that's taken place on the White House grounds. This is the construction of the West Wing in 1902. Look at this, the construction of the West Terrace in 1902. These images look quite similar to what you and the American people are seeing today, the construction of the East Terrace as well. You look at the construction of the West Wing expansion in 1934. So look, this is a legal opinion that's been held for many years. Look at, this is 1950. It looks a lot like what you're seeing today.
Can he demolish anything he wants?
What do you think that
oversight?
rubble is? How did that rubble get there?
Right, so I'm asking, and then back to the donors.
Go ahead, Reagan.
Many of them are.
Reagan, go ahead.
Now to the current scene outside the White House. Construction crews are paving their way to President Trump's whopping $300 million ballroom. And now top Democrats in the House, they are demanding answers and, quote, transparency. So let's go live now to the White House and CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, thank you for your time. I mean, you are out there right now by the White House, but you've also seen or been on the streets getting the pulse of the nation and on this construction project that's currently going on. What are locals saying so far about the project?
Well, Mugo, it's been a steady stream of tourists coming here to the White House to just get a glimpse of some of the construction that's happening. You can kind of see it a little bit over my shoulder. There are people who are standing out there at the White House now looking at it. We just saw an excavator that was still tearing down parts of the East Wing. But yesterday I went outside on the street to talk to some people who came all the way into Washington just to get a glimpse about what their reaction is to the construction that's happening here. And as you can imagine, the results were mixed. Some people said that it was disgraceful. Some people said that this is not the time for a ballroom when you're having Americans who are struggling to pay their bills. But there were other people I talked to who were quite happy with what they're seeing. Take a listen to Joe Thompson. He was down here in Washington dropping his wife off for a meeting and then decided to walk down to the White House and take a look for himself. Here's what he had to say.
I was glad to see that the upgrade with the building. And you know, it's so funny they're saying how Trump's destroying everything. Go back through history, all the different presidents. Truman gutted the place. Roosevelt made the West Wing. Nixon had his bowling alley.
I think it's disgraceful. It's a desecration, really, I think. I don't know that anybody particularly wants a big ballroom. And even for those people who did want it, the promise was that the White House wasn't going to be touched.
Now, Mugo, as you can tell, there was a lot of mixed reaction from people on the street here in Washington who came by to see this construction. But the White House says that they have been transparent throughout this whole process. And our latest reporting shows that the price tag has grown from $200 million to $250 to now $300 million. It will also include a new bunker that they're redoing under the East Wing.
Olivia, do we know anything about the donors and the construction company that's being used for this huge, expensive project?
Yeah, so the construction company is Clark Construction. They're based here in Washington, or excuse me, they are here working on the project now as we speak. And the engineers that are working on it are from AECom, which is a consulting company. But some of the people who we know who have donated, the White House has released a list. They include Comcast Corporation, Booz Allen Hamilton, which is another consulting company, Lockheed Martin, Meta, Palantir, T-Mobile, and some people who are actually working in the administration, like the Lutnick family, but also Kelly Loeffler as well. So some administration officials who are donating to this project, which is also quite notable.
Okay, Olivia Rinaldi, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
President Trump's massive demolition of the East Wing is now complete. Satellite pictures show what the White House complex looked like just a month ago. And here's the scope of the destruction on Thursday, with the East Wing of the building entirely gone. It'll be replaced with part of President Trump's 90,000 square foot ballroom, the cost of which has now ballooned to $350 million. The money is expected to come from private donors, including Comcast, the current parent company of MSNBC. As the demolition of the East Wing got underway this week, President Trump reversed course on what he said earlier this year about the project.
It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be, but not touching it. And pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. It's my favorite place. I love it. We determined that after really a tremendous amount of study, some of the best world, we determined that really knocking it down, trying to use a little section. You know, the East Wing was not much. In order to do it properly, we had to take down the existing structure.
Well, come on. This is the people's house. There are rules, there are procedures. And once again, everyone's been talking about how the destruction of the East Wing is a perfect metaphor for this administration, and it absolutely is. He could not care less about what the East Wing means to the American people. He couldn't care less about the role of Congress. He couldn't care less about the role of accountability. He is running roughshod over the country, and that right there, what we're watching right there, is just the perfect metaphor. I can't tell you how upset this makes me.
There's a couple of things for me. Is one, the reason that when people go to the White House, they go, wait, it's so much smaller than I expected. That was the point, because our founders, as nightmarish as they were on some policies, like slavery, they knew that the kind of place that they wanted the head of state to live in wanted to be more humble. They didn't want it to be huge. They didn't want it to look like a palace. That's why it's not gold encrusted until recently, kings. Right? That was very important to them. Two, he lied about not destroying it. A couple months ago, when this first came out, they said they weren't going to touch the East Wing.
Just heard him say it.
And then they completely destroyed it without telling anybody. Well, the reporters just saw it happening. Also, they added how much money it was going to be, another 50% of how much it's going to be, and that money is being raised by all of these billionaires and corporations privately. Right. And apparently the president, he said he's going to throw some money in. But the problem with that, and Kimberly Ackenstor said it better than I can, but when that is happening and it's not tax dollars, there's no accountability.
Right.
And those folks are going to want something for giving money to that house.
And that, in the course of my reporting calls yesterday, I wanted to get a sort of the preservationist archival perspective on this. And I talked with Colleen Shogan, who was the former head of the National Archives, who was fired by Trump earlier this year and has dedicated her life to archiving historical documents. And she said, most reasonable people might agree, okay, maybe the construction of a ballroom isn't the craziest idea. When people go to the state dinner, they have to go to the bathroom in porta potties. Maybe they want something nicer.
Not the gowns and the porta potties.
But her issue is the way it has been done.
Yeah.
That it could have been done in a way that it preserved the East Wing. You could have attached it in some way, had it adjacent to another structure, and that it is representative of, getting back to what Jonathan led with, of the way that we are supposed to do things in a democracy to come to a better outcome. The reason why democracy operates in a consensus-driven way, and that we go through a process, the way legislation, regulations, policy programs, and institutions are made, is to get to a better outcome.
Yeah.
As someone who has been to 3 state dinners, let me just tell you that it's not you know, the porta potty that you see at the construction site. These are decked out, tricked out.
Jonathan is pro porta potty.
Bathrooms.
And even if they weren't, your little gown will be fine.
Your gown will be
okay.
We got to go.
Welcome into 9 News at noon. We've got a lot of stories for you today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sam Shocker. The federal government is closer than ever to reopening. Last night, the Senate passed a bill to provide funding through the end of January. It now goes to the House and could be voted on as soon as tomorrow afternoon. NBC's Ryan Nobles has the latest from Capitol Hill.
After a nearly 6-week stalemate on Capitol Hill, the staring contest between Republicans and Democrats is almost over.
The bill as amended is passed.
The Senate passing a measure overnight to reopen the government and provide full funding through the end of January. The measure now goes to the House, which is scrambling back members who haven't been in Washington since the end of September. The bill receiving an endorsement from President Trump.
We're going to be opening up our country.
Its passage in the Senate was not easy, skating by with the 60 votes necessary. Most Democrats voting no, angry their party didn't fight for more on health care, warning premiums are set to go up.
Look, I think it was a terrible, terrible vote at a time when we have a broken health care system.
Now, some blaming Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and a group of House members calling for him to step down, and President Trump taking a victory lap.
He thought he could break the Republicans, and the Republicans broke him.
Schumer blaming the GOP.
Republicans had their chance to fix this, and they blew it.
And the moderates who brokered the deal arguing it was the best option.
Was it worth it? We crystallized the fight about health care for the American people.
But the House Republican leader not making any promises on a future health care vote.
I'm not committing to it or not committing to it. What I'm saying is that we do a deliberative process.
The end of the shutdown means relief for millions of Americans. Federal workers will soon get back pay, and those laid off during the shutdown will get their jobs back. SNAP benefit recipients will eventually get their funding back after weeks of receiving a fraction of what they're entitled to.
How y'all doing, staff?
While the bill to end the shutdown calls to fund SNAP through next September, at any moment today, the U.S. Supreme Court is expected to rule on what should happen with SNAP right now. The justices will decide whether states can resume full SNAP food aid payments. The Trump administration argues the fund should stay partially frozen until the government reopens, saying it's not up to courts to reallocate money. With SNAP funding for our neighbors still in limbo, it is a great time to donate to our Not Cares Colorado Shares Drive that is happening right now. Once again, we are teaming up with Community Food Share and other food banks to help Coloradans facing food insecurity. You can scan this QR code to get to our donation page. You can also donate when you're checking out at King Soopers. Also for now, flight traffic reductions are continuing. By 6 this morning, 92 flights were canceled. The highest number of them, 61, came from the airline SkyWest. Southwest followed with 21 cuts. Across the country, there were 1,200. Right, a little bit of a there today, but expect a little breeze, I hear. Joining me now, senior meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Sam. Yeah, it's been a bit annoyingly windy out there, hasn't it been, through the morning? But that wind starting to back off a little bit, and it'll continue to do so through the rest of our day. Today, just a few high clouds overhead. This is Lamar, where things are looking pretty nice out here on the Eastern Plains. And in Denver, we've got these mountain wave clouds. So if it kind of looks like a spaceship overhead right now, that's because the air is going up and over the mountains. As it does, it creates a little bit of a turbulent eddy, and that's what forms those clouds you're seeing overhead. But a lot more bark then bite with those clouds. It's also keeping us on the warm side. These are warm winds, Chinook winds, downsloping winds. So we're in the 60s right now. 60s, even some 70s, close to 80 degrees. It's November the 11th. It's nearly 80 degrees for us out there in La Junta. 50s for us in the mountains. Even there, 10,000 feet in Leadville, it's 50 degrees right now on this November 11th. Radar, quiet as can be right now. The rest of our day today, just a few of those clouds overhead. Temperatures in the 70s for us today. We top out at 72. Breezy at times. Worst of the wind will be between now and about 3 p.m. And then those winds start to back off. It stays dry and mild through Thursday, but there's some big changes ahead this weekend and especially next week. I'll detail those for you in a couple minutes.
Chris, thank you. Well, this scene unfolded on a road in Castle Rock last night, and believe it or not, no one was hurt. The small plane crash landed just before 6:15 last night on Prairie Hawk Drive. That's near Wolfensberger Road and not far from I-25. We checked out the flight path in it and learned that it was out of Colorado Springs and did a loop around downtown before heading back south where it went down. Castle Rock Fire says the plane hit a moving vehicle during its landing and it was leaking fuel, but that was stopped and the road reopened after a couple of hours. So far, it is not clear why the aircraft needed to land. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston's $1.6 billion budget will go into effect, even though the city council voted it down yesterday. It still goes into effect because Denver's charter requires a budget to be in place by November 12th, which is tomorrow. One city council member was absent from last night's vote. Several council members expressed concerns about a lack of collaboration and transparency in the budget process. Colorado is awarding tens of millions of dollars in tax credits to bring affordable housing to the state. The money will go to 9 projects planned around the state. And according to our partners at the Denver Business Journal, the projects are expected to result in a total of 840 affordable rental homes. 7 are in the Denver metro area, and the state estimates the tax credits will raise more than $209 million in equity. The Nuggets are part of tonight's NBA on NBC. They face the Sacramento Kings, but you'll need to grab some coffee because the game doesn't tip off until 9 o'clock. This is the second time the two teams face each other this season. The first matchup was earlier this month, and the Nuggets won 130 to 124. Entering tonight's game, the Nuggets are looking to extend their 4-game win streak after beating the Pacers on Saturday. Meanwhile, the Kings hope to snap a 2-game losing streak. Again, tip-off set for 9 p.m. Fans can watch the game right here on 9 News and on Peacock. There are 2 games tonight, though. The Celtics, 76ers, they tip off at 6, so Next with Kyle Clark will air on KTVD. And during the Nuggets game, 9 News at 9 and 10 will also be on KTVD. All right, the Avs are on the ice at Ball Arena tonight, hosting the Anaheim Ducks. The Avs are riding a 3-game win streak they hope to extend, but the Ducks have won 7 in a row. Puck drop tonight is at 7:30.
Be one salute, sister. Anita. Is that Sister Anita? Hey, Sister Anita, thanks for tapping in. Said peace, y'all. Love y'all. Thank you. Oh, shit. Crow's in the building. Raymundo. That's right. All right, so that's all we have for y'all. 15 minutes. Usually you make this 2 hours. What are your thoughts, Lady Che, on the West Wing being demolished or the East Wing being demolished? And what? The East Wing was The East Wing was demolished, Lady K.
Of what?
What do you mean, of what? Of the White House.
From what I understand, he didn't have clearance to do that.
He did it anyway.
Kind of like everything he's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why he did it.
He's gonna put in a ballroom, he said.
I thought he was mad because Powell was doing some shit. And he didn't like that. I was there with Gerald Powell, or Powell was building some shit. And he didn't like that, so I thought he was in competition.
I don't know.
You know, Powell was working on some stuff.
Which Powell?
There's only one.
No, there's not. Trump administration? Are you talking about Trump administration?
Yeah.
What is he building?
He did something. I forgot what he's building. I forgot what he's building.
Payments.
We got lucky.
Yeah.
One states got lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Somebody got.
Yeah, we're part of that 32,000 that got something.
Got stamps, yeah. What I don't like is that they were talking about taking them back.
Yeah, they're not gonna do that.
Wow. I think that they're really gonna take them back.
No.
And keep them next time. I mean, this might be the last month, really, if you think about it. Well, you got lucky. Now's the time to stock up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you give a fuck about Thanksgiving or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't gonna suffer over there.
Mm-hmm.
If you manage to get them, stock up. That's really what that's about. Because I'll tell you what, buying things with cash is like the hardest thing to do nowadays. You know.
Yeah.
I know for a fact how hard it is. Buy things with cash. And I'm really cheap.
So you guys on Trump potentially sending out $2,000 checks.
Huh?
You didn't hear Trump was talking about sending out $2,000 checks.
For what?
Like a stimulus package.
That's a lie.
There's articles on it. It's not a lie.
He's gonna do it, or he's just talking about it.
He said he's gonna do it.
For what?
Oh my God.
Like, I don't know anything about it, Justice, so. I don't know anything about it. I never do. I don't know anything about that. It's news to me. I mean, he barely wanted to give food stamps back. What the fuck you gonna get $2,000?
He said he's gonna give every American that's been affected by this shit $2,000.
Right. But the ones that got back, they get it. Right?
No, if you got your stuff, he said everywhere.
I believe you when I see it. I believe you when I see it. I don't think he's going to give that. Like, come on, because it's Trump.
He had the stimulus checks. That did happen.
It's Trump. This time, he's more like taking versus giving. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't hold out any hope for that. I don't hold out no hope. What else?
That's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't hold out no hope. Shabaka'S Blacc experience ends.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I put for the topic.
They got Shabaka'S on sabbatical.
Yeah, until tomorrow.
Oh, you heard from?
Yeah, he told me he'll be back tomorrow. So,
How about the Raiders?
yeah, he was like, yeah, that's why I said they need to change their name or get out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll probably do a special edition tomorrow. We shall see. So thank you for everyone checked in. Much appreciated. Just kind of impromptu, so I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Shout out to Twin. Shout out to Mac. Shout out to Crew. And shout out to Sister Anita. I think it's Sister Anita. I can't tell because the YouTube is doing handles opposed to the actual names. Yeah. All right, so what's your closing statement, Shay?
Fuck the mayor's budget.
Yeah, I covered that last night.
No. Stay, obviously, stay dangerous. Stay out the fucking protests.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you may have got your stamps don't mean that you shouldn't still try to look out for your brother and sister.
Right.
You know, it's gonna be a rough holiday.
Yep.
So remember that she goes hand in hand. Okay.
All right, well, this is going to conclude season 10. Well, thank you for that, Lady Chan.
Yeah.
So this is going to conclude season 10, episode 51 of Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced, in conjunction with the Frontline Black News. Join us either tomorrow. I don't know, Lady Chan, are you going to do an RBA this week?
I'll do my best. I've been really sick, so I barely get any air out with my words. I'll do my best.
Okay. Either join us tomorrow for a special edition of Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced. I'm sure Shabaka'S going to want to do a special edition. And then join us on Friday for Grand Rising with Shabaka and the Chase. Somewhere in between there, join us for the RBA. And Saturday for a brand new episode. Our season ender for the 5th season. will be the last 3-part series of season 5. So peace, love, light, reparations, and separations, the lineages and Black empowerment. Che Nkrumah and Lady Che, and the B1 dog, Aquarius, signing out from the mile high income, a legal market flooded city, in a sundown town known as Aurora, Colorado. Peace.
B1 dog.
Yeah, that's what they call her. She's the B1 dog. She is a B1 dog. She be barking at all the white people. She's black first. Yeah. And she's black too. Yeah. All right. So we'll see y'all then. Peace.